Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. My name is Philip Alex Bennett, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to talk with you about coaching today. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Okay, so this is a list of what this lecture will be about today. So first, I will give a brief introduction of myself. Next, we will go over what coaching is and how it's done. And you'll have time to think about coaching in your life. Then we will briefly look at the GROW coaching method. And finally, close with a brief recap of what we have covered. All right, so a little bit about me. So I was born and raised in New York. So on this map, are you able to find where New York State is? I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, so we're able to find it. Yeah, by the way, did you know that New York and Hokkaido are about the same size? So New York is a pretty big state. Specifically, I'm from Long Island, and it's not a very interesting or creative name. It's just a Long Island. And I think most of you are familiar with New York City. And New York City is actually on an island called Manhattan, as you can see in this red circle. This is a picture of Manhattan Island, New York City, and of Central Park. So have any of you been there? Do you want to go visit one day? Maybe we can talk about that in a presentation in the future. Okay, so I lived in Japan since 2004 in Gunma Prefecture, from 2004 to 2021. And then in 2001, I moved to Chiba Prefecture, where I am today. So here is a brief overview of what I've done over the past 20 years. So I have a bachelor's in sociology. I have a master's in TESOL. I have over 20 years of experience in the education field. And more recently, I've been working in coaching, where I have a couple of certifications. Also, I am a learning advisor, and I have certifications, and I do some teaching of learning advising as well. And the most recent endeavor is I have been coaching, doing language coaching or language advising as a personal business at www.nasaba.info. I have a few other experiences under my belt, which I would love to share with you in the future as well. All right, so let's move on to what we're here today to talk about. So I'll start with the question. What is coaching? So please take a moment to think about how you would explain what coaching is based on your knowledge. Feel free to write down some words or share your definition with someone that's next to you. So I'll give you some time to think about that. All right. So as a noun, okay, coach can be a form of transportation. So some of you might be familiar with the brand Coach. And the definition of this kind of coach is a horse-drawn carriage. All right. However, today we will focus on coach as a person and as a verb. So today's definition of coach will be the practice of bringing people somewhere they need to go, whether it is achieving career goals, improving performance, and or even gaining confidence. In a way, there is a connection between the illustration and what we will talk about today. So as you can see, the person that is driving the horse-drawn carriage could be the coach, and the person inside the carriage could be the coachee. Okay, so take a moment to think about a person in your life that helped you reach a goal. This person can be a teacher, a friend, a family member, a sports coach, anyone. So take some time to think about that person. Okay, now that you have that person in mind, think about these two questions. Okay, so what did they do to help you? For example, did they give you advice? Did they listen to your situation? Did they help you make a plan? And the second question is, what were their characteristics? Characteristics meaning a special and helpful point. For example, were they kind? Were they supportive? Were they positive? So next, I will introduce some common traits of coaching, and I think you will notice some similarities between the person you're thinking about and these traits. Okay, so here's what coaching is. It is a partnership between a coach and a coachee. It's a way to unlock potential. It aims to improve performance. It helps people find their own solutions. And coaching guides through questions. So now I'll talk about some aspects of coaches. Okay, so important aspects of coaching are active listening, powerful questions, taking a non-directive approach, which means asking reflective questions rather than giving advice. And finally, providing feedback and holding people accountable. So accountability. So let's take a deeper look at each of these aspects. So active listening means listening without interrupting and encouraging a person to share their thoughts and ideas more and more. So we help to share ideas together. So this requires full concentration, remembering what is said. As I said before, minimal interruptions. That means allowing people to speak and not stopping them. And finally, reflecting on what was spoken about. The next aspect are powerful questions. So powerful questions are thought-provoking, meaning that they push people to think more and think deeper. Okay? They're also challenging limiting beliefs that make us feel we can't do something. So we challenge these kinds of negative beliefs. And powerful questions promote self-discovery to learn more about ourselves. So powerful questions can be questions like, what are your strengths that will help you achieve this goal? And what will happen if you don't achieve this goal? So these are two examples of powerful questions. Okay, so taking a non-directive approach can be defined as asking, not telling. Okay, so one non-directive approach question could be, what has been most rewarding about your progress so far? Or how did you make progress in past situations? So these are two examples of taking a non-directive approach. A non-directive approach isn't saying something like, if I were you, I would, and then say my opinion, or I think you should, and then say what I would do. So these are not non-directive approaches. They are directive approaches. So taking a non-directive approach could mean asking what and how to encourage the coachee to have self-discovery. Finally, coaches give feedback and hold people accountable for their actions. So this is constructive feedback, so feedback that is helpful and that is not harmful. As I said before, holding the coachee accountable for commitment and action, so making sure that the coachee follows through. that they do what they say they said they were going to do. And of course, to celebrate progress and milestones. So to show encouragement. So now that we have an idea about what coaching is, let's take a look at a method of coaching called GROW. GROW stands for Goal, Reality, Options, and Way Forward. So let's see how the GROW model can be applied for learning English. So, for example, the goal is something that you want to achieve. So, a coach would ask you, what is your goal for learning English? And what is one reason this goal is important to you? Next is reality, which is your current situation. So the coach would ask you, what is your current level of English? And what challenges are you facing? Also, what challenges do you want to make for yourself? Then comes options. So this is becoming aware of what choices that you know of that can help you achieve your goal. Okay? So the coach would ask you, what are 3 ideas you have to improve your English speaking skills? And what resources or activities could help you? For example, if you want to improve your English and you enjoy cooking, one option may be to use cooking videos to learn vocabulary and practice listening. Finally is the way forward. Here, you make a plan to take the needed steps to reach your goal. And these are realistic actions you can take. So the coach would ask you, what is one step you can take to get closer to your goal? And when will you start? And here is where you make your choice. Okay, so let's try thinking like a coach. All right, so this is what we will do. On the right-hand side will be a student issue and student responses to the coach. On the left-hand side will be questions that the coach will ask the student. So what we will do is we will try to think like a coach and ask questions to the student. So remember to try to follow the GROW model of goal, reality, options, and way forward. All right, let's get started. So a student might say, I can't keep up with English homework. So what kind of questions might the coach ask? Remember, for goal, we're thinking about questions that address what needs to be achieved. So here's 30 seconds. Let's go. Okay, so here's an example of what a coach might say. The coach might ask, what do you want to change about your homework habits? And the student might say, I want to stop doing it last minute or forgetting it completely. Okay, so next, what kind of questions might the coach ask? So moving on to reality, which is dealing or asking questions about the current situation. So the coach is responding to what the student said here. So let's take 30 seconds and think about a possible question that the coach might ask. Okay, so the coach might ask, when do you usually remember or forget about it? And the student might respond, I remember at night, but I'm already tired and don't feel like doing it. Okay, so next, moving on to options or possible choices, what kind of questions might the coach ask? Remember, the coach is going to respond to this response by the student. So here's 30 seconds and think about what kind of question you would ask for possible choices. Okay, so one question a coach might ask is, have you tried setting it at a different time of day? And the student might respond, no, I always wait until nighttime. Maybe I should try right after school. Okay, so now what would the coach say for way forward? So remember, way forward is a realistic action or realistic actions that can be taken. So as a coach, what kind of question would you ask for the student response here? All right, so let's take 30 seconds and think about a possible response. Okay, so the coach might say, what can you do differently starting tomorrow? And maybe the student might say, I'll set a timer on my phone at 7:30 p.m. So I wonder if you were able to ask similar questions or different questions to the student's issue and the student's responses. So remember, the GROW method is focused on addressing the goal, dealing with the reality, providing certain options, and then thinking about a way forward. So I hope you're able to understand a little bit more by practicing together. So a coach will support you through the GROW process and beyond. And beyond meaning that they will hold you accountable and celebrate when you achieve your goals and milestones. Okay, so that was a lot of information, but I hope you're able to remember some of it. So to help you really remember it, let's have a quick review of what we covered today. All right, so what was this lecture about today? Give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. It was an introduction to, there you go, coaching. All right, that was the easy one. All right, next. So do you remember the definition of coaching? Give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. So coaching is bringing people somewhere they need to go. That's right. That's right. So remember, using the illustration, this is the coach bringing someone, the coachee, where they need to go. Okay, so do you remember the important aspects of coaching? There were 4 of them. Okay, so the first one was 3, 2, 1. Active listening. That's right. How about the next one? 3, 2, 1. That's right. Powerful questions. Okay, this is a tough one, I think. Okay, remember this one was not telling people what to do, but leading through questions. So what is this one? 3, 2, 1. A non-directive approach. And finally, What do coaches give? 3, 2, 1. They give feedback, yes, and hold the coachee accountable. All right. All right, so for the last question, there is a method of coaching, right? The GROW method. So what does GROW stand for? All right, so 3, 2, 1. Good, the goal. So the coach asks you what your goal is. Next, 3, 2, 1. The reality. What is your current situation? Okay, next, 3, 2, 1. Good. So next is what options do you have in your current situation to reach your goal? Okay, and the last one, 3, 2, 1. That's right, the way forward. So thinking about your goal, your current reality, and the options, what actions can you make to move forward towards achieving your goal? So I hope this was really useful for you in understanding what coaching is. Thank you for your time and your attention. And here are some of the references. If you would like to read more about coaching, these are some of the articles and research papers that I used for today's presentation. So once again, thank you very much and have a nice day. Peace.